All right, guys, welcome to is this our fifth? I don't even know where we're at, Jerry. Where are we at on this?
Fourth. I missed last week, so it's the fourth one, yeah.
Fourth live, guys. We got Jerry coming home from a wedding, guys. This wedding went longer than it's supposed to, and so he is in the car, making his way back. And we're excited to be back, guys. This is something that we're going to continue to do every single week. We hope you guys had an incredible Christmas. We hope that you're prepping during this week and that you're using this time to really think about how to become your best version, like the best version of yourself, how to have your business become the best version of itself that you're using this week, not just working, but that maybe you're taking some time to really think about 2021, what it is you want to accomplish, and how you're going to do it. You don't want to be Alice in Wonderland, getting to the fork in the road, and then asking the Cheshire Cat, which way should I go? And the Cheshire Cat's like, I don't know. It depends on where you want to go to. And then she's like, well, I don't know where I want to go to resolve. Then it doesn't matter what road you take, right? And so don't go without an aim. And I say that jokingly, but I have to say it a little bit serious because most people run their business that way. They're literally going to a fork in the road and they're just like flipping a coin saying, well, maybe this one or maybe that one, where if you will map out what you want to accomplish for 2021, you'll start to see which paths take you there and which paths you must say no to. So with that being said, today we have Mr. Hunter Jarvis with us as well, and he's from Dallas, Texas, and we're going to basically be doing some interviews on what he's doing. And you guys, this is a live Q&A. So if you have questions, bring your best questions, because this is all about how do we get you solopreneurs to scale your business? How do we get you guys to not be the ones that are doing everything, wearing all the hats, so that you can start doing deals, more deals, by growing your processes, growing your team, so you don't have to bang your head against the wall. Jerry, anything you want to add to that before we begin?
Yeah, so guys, we really want to focus on that consistency on this video, this live stream. We're going to be talking about ways to where you can do multiple deals a month, ideally that 3 to 5 level is what we're going to be focusing on this call. And Hunter's going to be sharing with us some ideas that he's been able to implement and do. And, you know, Cody, I don't know about you, but when I did my first deal, it was life-changing. But I remember the thought I had immediately after, like, just total elation was, now how do I do it again? And then, like, you know, then how do I do it again? And then, you know, how do I do it again? And so, you know, there's this cliche out there, like, you know, that first deal is the most important thing. And it is important, but it's never about just one deal, any one deal. It's about how do we do a business that does deals? And there's a completely different mindset. And when you shift that mindset in your business, whether you're working on that first deal or you're doing a couple deals or wherever you're at in your business, when you change the mindset from chasing after a deal to doing a business that does deals, the way you approach everything changes, your mindset changes, the way you develop your team, your systems, your processes. It just puts you in a whole different league, where now you start thinking about, you know, the scale side of the business and how do I leverage myself? How do I leverage resources and tools and technology and people? And that's really what we're hoping to accomplish on this call today with Hunter.
I love it. Hunter, guys, it's echoing. I may have to get some headsets. It could be me. Are you guys hearing on your end?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
But is it echoey at all?
Yeah, I hear it that way.
Okay, let me see if I can get a headset. But Hunter, while I'm getting a headset, start to give a little high level of a little bit of who you are and what got you into wholesaling, so people can start to understand who you are, and I'll go get a headset. So get going on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Cody mentioned, I'm out of Dallas, Texas. I've been wholesaling real estate since December of 2017 is when I closed my first deal. So I started probably more towards the middle of 2017, just waking up early in the morning before work, handwriting letters to people on a code violation list. And scratching and clawing, got my first deal that way. Was able to afford a coaching program that Cody was running, and I kind of was able to afford some mentorship and some guidance from Cody. Through that time, I've just been able to kind of stay consistent with my marketing, stay consistent with the business, and just kind of slow and steady growth has been the way that I've gone. But share some things tonight where I'll kind of take you into what my transition looked like from just scratching and clawing to get one deal a month to now, 3, 4, 5 deals a month pretty consistently.
That's
amazing.
great.
Jerry, kind of go from here because I missed out just a second while I was grabbing these bad boys.
So a couple years in, middle of 2017, did your first deal. And Hunter, when you did that first deal, how soon after that first deal did you realize, man, if I'm going to do deals consistently every month, I've got to start doing some things on a regular basis. I got to learn some things. I got to put some people in place or some processes in place.
Yeah.
Was it a long transition for you to kind of grasp that idea, or did that just come quickly or naturally?
No, you know what? I knew that that's what I needed. I knew that was the correct course of action. Just truthfully, I was 22 years old at the time, and I was funding this thing on a shoestring budget. And so I was going to do 1 or 2 deals until I could actually afford to spend some money on mentoring, because it was like I had a choice where I could spend some money on a program, or I might not be able to have money to keep marketing. So I had to do a deal or 2, get that in my belt, and then invest in coaching. And then after I did that, I really was able to put it together. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said that. So you decided to get some advanced coaching after getting a couple deals under your belt. And that's just amazing. I mean, one of my biggest regrets, Hunter, is when I first got started, I thought I had to kind of figure it all out by myself. And it wasn't for, I think, a year or 2 into the process, into the business, where I decided to reinvest into advanced coaching and training. And when I did that, I was blown away by just how quickly I progressed from that point. And so first of all, I want to commend you for seeing the value in good mentorship, good training. I mean, you got one of the best, Cody, to help you through that. And
Absolutely.
We're preaching to the choir a little bit, those of you listening, because you're, listening to training and you're trying to better yourself right now. But I just could not. I mean, I'd give my right arm to go back and get coaching and mentoring sooner than I did, because I think about all the money I probably lost or didn't make as a result of just fumbling through and making unnecessary mistakes. I mean, it's all part of the process, right? You gotta learn as you go. You got to make mistakes. There's no way around it. But getting a good coach, getting good mentoring, getting good training can really get you to where you're trying to go that much faster. I mean, was that the case for you?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, this was back before I was keeping the kind of KPIs that I do now, and that's part of what I learned through scaling a business. Is numbers are everything. But I wish I had better track of that, because it would go back and look at, after I did that first deal in 2017, what did my monthly P&L look like after that? And I'm sure there was an uptick, but exactly what it was, I don't know. Hey, and before I go on, Cody, are you still in the echo? Because it might be me in this room here.
It's a little bit echo. If you have headset, it'll help.
I can bounce back to a bigger room right behind me here. A second, because this is a shared office.
While you're doing that, Hunter, I wanted to ask you as well. You're on a shoestring budget when you start, which is usually how most of us start. It was definitely for me. It was. I know Cody's story. He started really at that place as well. As you started to do a deal here, a deal there, what was your strategy? How did you reinvest some of your profits, not just in coaching, because you said that, but also into marketing to then generate more leads to get more deals?
Yep. So I went from handwriting postcards to paying a third-party mail vendor, and did nothing but direct mail for probably a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, honestly. And then I got that process down. Direct mail was consistently working. I was up to, couple deals every month. And then I started with cold calling. And so I actually went directly to outsourcing with a third party, hired a cold caller that started working, brought on a second cold caller. Now we're up to four full-time cold callers out of Mexico, but just slowly kind of adding marketing channels. Once I got one down pat, go on to the next one and continue to kind of grow it.
Jerry,
all funding out of the deals, right? So you're reinvesting from the deals. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I hope you guys caught that. So what he's doing here is as he does a deal, he's taking some of that profits. Let's say he does a $10,000 wholesale. He's saying, I'm gonna take some of this and I'm gonna reinvest it into coaching and mentoring and training and into marketing, which then feeds the machine, right? Very important to really grasp that idea there. Awesome.
Hey, and another thing to catch here that I think is crucial, guys, is this approach of like a sniper. Is it echoing still, guys? Are you guys good?
A little bit.
I don't hear an echo. Good.
I'll tell you, it still sounds like an echo on my side. Let me see if, do I dare unplug this mic? Let me tell you this though, guys, the approach, this is sounding bad. Hold on.
Oh, you're mute now.
Now you're gone.
How's it now? It's
Oh, you're
worse.
back.
You got you.
Is it worse?
I hear you. I can hear you good either way.
Okay, let's go for sheesh, on my end, it's really bad.
That is worse.
Okay,
Yeah, that was bad.
let's go from here. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, here's one of the things I want to talk about is this whole point that he ended up going like a sniper approach, right? He didn't shoot the shotgun and say, I took on every marketing channel right out of the gate. He started with direct mail. And then as money came in, he started investing and he had it down pat, was his exact words. And then he took that, once that process was in place and he could keep doing it over and over, he brought on his second marketing channel. He brought on cold calling. So I want you to think of the tips here. If you guys are sitting here listening to this, you're at your beginning stage, or you're at a solopreneur stage, some of the biggest mistakes I see many individuals take is they get into too many options too quick, and they end up being a master of none of them, and they don't end up investing the right amount of money into each one of them. And so they kind of just have this half effort, and it goes off this philosophy that half effort, you may get half results. But I'm here to tell you, half effort equals zero results. It never equals half results. You have to go all in. And so you've got to pick the marketing channel that's going to work for you, whether that's direct mail, whether that's cold calling, whether that's EPC, whatever that channel is, pick one and be a sniper. Shoot one bullet at a time that hits the target every time. And if you can do that, you'll start to see this business get you to your first deal quicker, and then ultimately get you to consistent deal flow. And then one of the other things I wanted to capitalize on was he talked about maintaining a budget from every deal to put back into the business. A simple book, you guys want to know, you may be asking, I saw a question over here saying, how much money should you hold back every deal? A great book that would teach you is called Profit First. That book is one of the easiest, simplest concepts to help you start to understand how to, every dollar that comes in, how do you break it up between your marketing, your expenses, between what you should take home. It's just a simple book, but it's by Mike Michalowicz. And again, it's called Profit First. But keep going, guys. And I might bring up some questions. Gary, I don't know if you want to answer one of these. You're going to have the best way of answering this. It was essentially... Hold on. Man, they're coming in quick. It's basically, what is the difference, Jerry, between Flipster and PropStream?
Oh, great question. Unrelated to what we're talking about a little bit, but yeah.
I saw this question now literally like 10 times. I'm like, I'm just going to have Jerry nip this one in the bud.
Yeah, I get this question quite a bit too. So PropStream, obviously, most people are familiar with. It's a great way to get leads, and you can buy data there. Flipster also has leads. One thing that we do different than PropStream is our leads are real time. So when you get leads on Flipster, that data is pulled real time instantly, whereas PropStream, they buy it in bulk, huge bulk, and then they resell it to you and me or whoever. And that's how they're able to get that pricing, is because they'll just buy it in bulk. So, I mean, there's still good data there, but our data is pulled real time. But the real difference isn't the data, because you can get data in all kinds of places, right? Melissa and ListSource and all these other places. Flipster really is an all-inclusive platform for your entire wholesaling and flipping business. So it's got deal analyzers, and it's got tools for comping and your digital contracts. And the idea is you can run your entire business from one place, and you don't have to have subscriptions to all these different things all over the place. So there's skip tracing and RVM and direct mail and virtual assistants and kind of all the different things that we think about all under one roof. And so that's kind of a good way to think about what Flipster is and how it works. Right?
Love it. Here's another one, and this will be a good one, I think, even for you to hop into, Hunter. How much money should you have to start wholesaling? This is bad.
I mean, I started with maybe, a couple $1,000s of my own personal savings, and that's really all I had. And, you can start any way you want. Let's say you don't have really much money at all. A Mojo subscription costs you $150 a month. You can download some free data and start calling on your own. You don't have to hire anybody to do that job. You can drive for dollars on your own. I think Deal Machine app is $90 a month. You can handwrite your own postcards. So you can literally start with, next to nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite things that I tell people to do, and we still do this today, even with marketing budget, but a really simple technique is to go on Craigslist, look up rental properties that are for rent, and then try to avoid property management, but look for that landlord, buy and hold investor who's posting his property for rent on Craigslist, looking for a tenant. And you can kind of tell by the write-up in the description that it's just a buy and hold investor. And then call, and when you call, you're basically saying, hey, I'm not calling as a tenant, I'm calling as an investor. I understand your property's vacant right now. Do you have an interest in selling this property or other properties? And I can't tell you how many leads you can generate and how effective that can be. And primarily because when a buy and hold investor is vacant, that's when they're the most motivated to sell that property, because they're losing money now. They had to evict somebody, or the lease ran out, probably had to go in there and maybe spend some money on it. Now they're looking for a new tenant. That tired landlord is like really strong at that moment. And guys, that's just free. Like, just go on Craigslist, search your market, look them up, call them. They'll put their contact information right in the post. It's really easy. And ask them about that property or other properties. And most of the time you're going to have them say, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. What's your offer? And then, you start that conversation, you look at their deal, and you make an offer. And, so I would say this: if you're listening right now and you're thinking that no money is a limitation, it's not a limitation. You can still get into this business without a budget for marketing. You've got to be willing to put in some work and some sweat equity to make up for it, right? But it's you got to start somewhere, and you got to be willing to pay those dues.
100% agree with you. Is it still pretty echoey? I'm trying to figure out a fix here.
Still pretty echoey. But when we started, you were not sounding as badly as you are now.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out this. I will tell you guys. Let me see if I can get back to this. Does that help? It doesn't, does it?
It's not unworkable though. We can hear you. I mean, it's
okay. Here's one. I like this. I like what Jerry just said, and I want to capitalize on this, guy. For those wanting to get involved, how much money do you take? We talked about that one lead source, that Craigslist, right? People putting their homes up for rent, saying, "Hey, we're renting this home out." Guys, my third and fourth deal was exactly what Jerry said. There was a for rent sign. I was driving by it, so I called him and I said, "Hey, is this home still available?" And he said, "Yeah." And I'm like, tell me this. Would you be interested in selling it? Because I'm looking for a home in this area. This dude was ticked, like, absolutely. He's like, come on over, make me an offer. I'm going to be frank with you, and I'm going to be upfront with you. One tenant on one side was smoking meth in the house. The other tenant flushed concrete down the toilet. And I just sat there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like, this is happening. I've never, like, you cannot ruin a motivated seller. When someone is this motivated, you can be the most imperfect, non-professional, have never done a deal, and you still cannot ruin a motivated seller. That was the case with this guy. I go out there, I end up making an offer. It ends up getting accepted. And that night, because I didn't have a process for disposition, I just took the first buyer, and it ended up being Real Salt Lake soccer player. He bought the duplex, and it was like $26,000 assignment, and I couldn't believe it. And it just happened to be driving down and just calling off the fence line, guys. So I can tell you, it doesn't. If you're willing to put like the elbow grease, really to just get in there and dive into it, and if you don't have money, don't let that hold you up. Even though I'm echoing, I can't echo this enough, but I'm echoing that. Is make sure the money does not hold you back from getting in the game. Get in the game. And then as you start to learn, as you start to do deals, you'll get to a point where Hunter's talking about where now he's doing 5 deals a month, guys. That's when it gets really, really, really fun. Because Hunter, maybe I would ask a question to you, is how many hours do you have to put into it? How many of those do you have to go on the appointment contract?
So I hired an acquisition manager back in August of this year of 2020. So I no longer go on buy appointments anymore. I'm handling everything else though. So I'm overseeing marketing, making sure that's going out, budgeting, transaction coordination. Then I'm handling the dispositions right now. But my acquisition manager will handle all appointments, which is great because when I'm not out in the field chasing deals and driving around town and blowing a whole day, driving 45 minutes out to Fort Worth and back, I can sit and think and plan and just kind of map things out and actually kind of start operating at a little bit of a higher level when I'm not out in the car chasing deals around all day long. So that was key for me to understand that, you know, because I was afraid to hire at first an acquisition manager because I just thought, what if I can't afford it? What if I let the guy down and the deal flow isn't really there? You know, all these doubts were going through my head. But when I just bit the bullet and actually hired some help, we doubled our business. I mean, from August to December, we started. I mean, we weren't doing 5 deals a month before him. Then he came on board, and now we're doing twice as many deals a month, and that's a big reason why, for sure.
Yeah, you know, that's a great point to make, Hunter, because, you know, a lot of times we look at like that, bringing on that team or spending that money on marketing and that scale side of the business, and we have all these fears come in that we think, well, I'm going to take on this overhead, and maybe it's better if I just do this stuff. I don't want to spend that kind of money on it. And to me, that's just showing a real lack of confidence, because you're basically devaluing your time when you don't scale out of those tasks. And one thing that's really helped me a lot is I'll ask myself over and over again, is this, whatever it is this the best use of my time right now? And, or another way I'll ask this question is, if I'm worth $1,000 an hour, would I be doing this? And a lot of times it's no, I wouldn't. It's I call it, you know, the $12 an hour work, or, you know, going on appointment takes half a day. So if you can get an acquisitions person, you pay them a commission on the deal. Now that just frees you up. You focus on higher level activities, and you have to start doing that. There's really no way. I think there's really no way to get from the 3 to 5 deal, passing 5 deals a month, if you don't start delegating, you don't start bringing on a team, you don't start looking at those lower level activities and figuring out a way to where you're not having to do those things and put yourself in a higher tier where you're doing more strategic, more high level activities to really grow the business. And when you do that, like you're experiencing, Hunter, you'll start to see tremendous growth. But you've got to have that confidence in your ability to lead and, you know, find the right people to come on and train them and help them be successful so that the organization can just grow.
I found out from one of our listeners over here, by the way, the echo should be gone, right?
What'd you do?
So they literally said it. They're like, mute Hunter's screen while he's not talking. And that's where the echo's coming from. How they knew that, I have no idea, but literally the echo stopped.
I'm just happy, Cody, it's not me. It's Hunter's fault, not mine.
It's Hunter's fault, guys. Just kidding, guys. I don't want to throw him under the bus. So guys, Hunter, when you hop on talk, unmute, and then when we don't talk, it won't echo. It's totally fine. It's when we're talking, it's coming through your speakers that it's resounding. Okay, here we go. Let's see. We have here we go. We have the one that says, is it best to pay commission per deal or hourly when it comes to your acquisition managers? Hunter, why don't you start, and then we'll rock through. I'll as well.
Yeah, I pay commission. So and I'll be hiring another acquisition manager in January, and he or she will be commission as well. But and that's the other thing too, is, you know, your maybe the irrational fear that you might have of not being able to afford somebody. You're paying commission, right? So they're gonna eat what they kill. So you're not having to stress out about a big overhead because you're bringing on help.
Fantastic. Guys, the same thing goes for us. It goes for a high of 15%, but it starts out at 10%. And then usually what we'll do is we'll tier. If they do the first 75K each month, so it starts over every month, is at 10% commission. If they hit over 75,000 in the month, then we tier it up to 12%, and they get even the first 75,000 at 12%. If they get over 150,000, we tier up to 15%, and then every month it starts over at 0. But guys, I want you to understand that sometimes I hear models that are just baffling because they'll do anything to get someone that they think is a closer. And so they're willing to just right out of the gate say, hey, I'm going to pay you 20% or 25% or 30% or 40%. And you start to hear this and you're like, holy smokes, you're giving away the farm. And a lot of times you'll hear this from people that are just brand new, like scaling their business, and they give away too much and they don't leave enough room for the business to really take its natural growth and the growth that it actually needs and the money that it needs and the capital that it needs. And as the owner, you take on all the risk. You should be the one that makes the most. Don't feel bad about that ever. They live great lives, and you find the right people, and don't feel like you ever have to hire based off of, well, if I don't give him 25%, then I'm going to lose this guy and I think he's going to be great. Here's where I see, if you feel like you have to make up in commission because you're afraid of losing someone, like, oh man, this is a good candidate, and the only way this good candidate is going to stay is if I give them a higher commission, I want you to now ask yourself, is there a doubt in your mind, meaning you don't feel like you're developed yet as a leader, and so the only value you bring to them is a commission? Because that's how it was for me at the very beginning. We offered too much commission, but I also look back, and it's because I wasn't a leader that was attracting A players. I had to find A players and convince them to be on my team, and I'd be willing to pay them a lot of commission. But as you work on yourself and become a better leader, as you work on yourself and become someone better, A players are looking to work for A leaders. So the simplest way to attract an A player or an A acquisition player on your team is become the A leader that they're looking for. This is an age-old wisdom from Darren Hardy in his Compound Effect book. He wrote a 40-page document. He was looking for his wife. And he wrote a 40-page document. Why wife's going to look like this, and she's going to be this tall. 40 pages, guys. And then he realized he was doing it backwards. He needed to write a 40-page document on him, of who he would need to become to be worthy of a caliber of the woman of his dreams. And when he started working on himself, within a few years, he found the woman of his dreams. And he says how eerie it is, how close it was to that original 40-page document that he wrote that he wanted in a wife. But it first came from him working on himself. So don't feel like you always have to give away the farm. If so, it could be because you're trying to overcompensate because you think, oh man, they're not going to stick around if I don't give them it. And you're probably right. Become a valuable leader that they're looking for, and you'll find people that will do it for 10 to 15%.
Yeah, Cody, what I found is in my business is talent will only follow vision, right? So if you want to bring on talent into your organization, you have to show them the vision of where you're going with your business. And really talented people, they will only go where they see the vision. So you've got to constantly be developing yourself as a leader, showing that vision, portraying that vision, helping your team see that there's no ceiling on their income, that you're taking this company to new places and a home that they can attach to and feel like this is a place where I'm going to have tremendous growth. I'm going to be able to really grow and develop. And I'm following a leader here who has very clear ideals of what they want and where they're going. If you're not able to portray that, even if you have it, if you're not able to portray it, you probably won't attract really good, talented people. And, so that's a really important thing. I've had to learn that the hard way through, grinding and bumps and bruises along the way to really think through and develop myself more as a leader to then expect to get the right people to come on board. Right. So like you said, Cody, it starts with you develop you, and then a natural consequence is great, talented people will just want to be around you. They'll want to be part of your team, want to be in your organization. And one thought I wanted to share too with what you shared with your commission, Cody, is how you tier it, and maybe share with everybody listening why that is. Why do you go from 10, 12, 15? Why is it bumped based on these milestones? Why do you do that?
Is that a question you said towards me?
Yeah.
How do I get it up to like the 10, 12, 15?
No, you explained how you start at 10, and then if you hit a certain milestone, you automatically bump to 12 and then again to 15. And then that starts over every month. But why is that? Why do you tier up the commission spread?
The tier up gives them something to keep pushing forward. Here's what happens. You find people that you want to escape what is the problem in corporate America, and that's this. People put a value on themselves. They say to themselves, I want to make $100,000 this year. And magically, when they're on pace to hit $100,000, they kind of just slack off and not work and not do what they should be doing. So they work hard like bottle rockets in the first week, and they get what they need to be on pace to make that $100,000, that value that they put in their head that they think they're worth. And then the next 2 to 3 weeks, they're like golfing, or they don't show up, or they're kind of just casually going in the office and casually going out of the office. And this now incentivizes them, and it does it in a structure that still makes your business profitable. Because if they can bring in each $150,000 per acquisition manager, your business is doing well. And that's what our goal is for every single one of our acquisition managers. And so they're incentivized to get to that $150K mark. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I was able to do that. And now I'm on track to make $200,000 this year. Mm-hmm. And so now they start to see the possibility, and they start to realize, man, my goals were way too low. There's enough leads here. There's enough to go around. So Jerry, great question. The reason is I need to keep them going hard through the 30 days and not give me their best effort for 10 days or 14 days, but that they give me their best effort all 30 days every single month.
Yeah. I got a funny story, Cody. We had a rock star guy, and as soon as he hit 5,000 in commissions, he was pretty much done, like just done, because that was what he needed. He was comfortable there, and he was amazing, and he'd hit that usually really early on, and then it was like productivity just went down, and it was so frustrating because he had all this talent in the world, but it was trying to keep that motivation up, because look, it's not always fun pounding the phones, and that can be a grind for some people. So it's really great to have that kind of additional incentive. So I love that you explained that. Hunter, is that something you're doing with your acquisitions manager right now? Are you doing a tiered up commission or just straight commission?
Right now I have just straight commission, but I've heard of this tiered system from Cody and a couple of others. And so I'm actually going to be in Cody's office next week. So we're going to talk a little bit more. Yeah, a little more detail on how that structure, what that looks like, and that's something that I'll be implementing in 2021 with my current AM and my new one. Yeah.
Jerry, here's a good one for you. Is, in your opinion, when do you think a new wholesaler should start building a team? And then Hunter, I want you also to chime in on this because this is very fresh on your mind right now.
Yeah, so this is really a great question. I mean, so here's kind of the way I look at it. Every deal you do where you're a one trick pony, it's just that much longer until you are going to start to develop the things you need to learn in order to scale, because there's that learning curve. You don't just scale. It just doesn't happen overnight. There's a process that you have to go through. You got to learn what works, what doesn't work. You may go through a couple people before you find the right one. You know, it takes time to develop the processes that work for you. The different marketing channels are always changing, so you're testing and trying things there. It's I recommend to people, you know, if you do something, tell yourself, I'm doing this thing because I want to learn how to do it myself, not so that I can continue to do it, but so that I can train somebody else to do it. And what's so wonderful about our business is we can get virtual assistants to do a lot of our business. I mean, so many parts of the business, we can get very inexpensive virtual assistants to take on a lot of that heavy lifting. But it just means starting to adapt that, starting to think through that process. So I'm kind of like, my mindset is do it once, do it twice, maybe do it 3 times. And then how do I get somebody else to do it from here and get me out of the trenches so that I can stay up and be the strategic leader of my company. So I hope that kind of answers that. I mean, it's really tough because I don't think there's necessarily a specific right answer, but it's just the longer you take to start to think about and start to develop some of those things, it's just that much longer until your business is going to start to grow and scale.
Jerry, one question maybe before Hunter jumps in on this is, is it ever comfortable to buy a rental? Yes or no?
Comfortable to buy a rental?
Yeah. It's never comfortable, guys.
No.
It's never convenient to buy a rental.
No.
Is it comfortable to bring on another person on your team?
No.
It's not, guys. So I guess my whole point behind those questions are, there is a time when you must, because if not, many people get burnt out and they quit and they leave the game and they're like, man, it was just too hard. And they go back to comfort. They go back to this comfortable lifestyle. They go back to the corporate America, the 9 to 5, and they don't realize that it was because they were wearing all the hats. But it's never comfortable. I can promise you, Hunter, you can chime in here in a second, but it's never comfortable. We now have over 14 people on the team, guys, 14 families that either benefit or don't benefit if we hit our goals or don't hit our goals. 14 families because someone in that family works here that we have to make sure that we're good stewards over, good leaders over. Does that stress me out? Sometimes, yeah. Is it ever convenient when me and my business partner sit down and we're like, we have to bring on a 15th, a 16th, a 17th, an 18th? Yeah, it's not comfortable. It's never comfortable. It's never convenient, but you have to start weighing out, where does this take us? Does it help me become a better version of myself? As I brought on team, I was able to become a better father. Now that sounds like I was lacking in the father space, or a better husband that is lacking in the husband space. No, it was just I was in the grind so much as a provider that I also missed out on a lot of time with my wife and kids. And my whole definition of success never had to do with how much money was in the bank account. It was that my wife and my kids see me more than my employees see me, or that my team sees me. And so what has a team, even though it's like not comfortable bringing on a team, it's allowed me freedom to now spend time with my wife. It now allows me freedom to spend time with my kids and not always have to be at the office 24/7. I'm more time at home than I'm here in the office. And that's the beauty behind this.
You know, one thought on that, and then I'd love to hear from Hunter, but you know, when I first started developing a team, I had this mindset, and I think a lot of people have this, which is nobody can do it as good as me. Nobody cares as much as me. I need to be the one that does it, or I got to touch everything, or I got to prove everything. And then I developed this idea that, well, if somebody else can do it 80% as good as me, that's still good enough because now I don't have to do it. And that served me for a little while, but then I progressed it even further, and I said, you know what, I can probably get people that do their specific aspect of the work even better than me. Not as good, but better than me. And now if I combine multiple people that are doing their particular job better than I could do that part of the job, think about how good my business is going to operate. And so I think that's really the mindset we want to get to, is there are people that can do certain aspects of your business better than you can. Not as good, not 80% as good, but better than you can. And if you surround yourself with those people, just think how good your business is going to work.
Hunter, fire away.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Jerry said earlier. I don't know that there's a right way, or like there's, everybody should do it the same way. But for me, the decision was made, it was very simple. There were two things. Number one, I had proof of concept. So I had established that what I'm doing is working on a consistent basis. Every month I'm in deals doing what I'm doing. So that was number one, because that gave me confidence to project into the future that it's going to continue if I just continue to keep the marketing, the pedal to the metal on the marketing. And then number two was, I simply realized that, I had goals written out that I read to myself every morning for my business, every morning and every night. And I realized I wasn't going to hit my goals if it's just me doing it all. If I'm doing every piece of the business, I wasn't going to get to 5 deals a month. I wasn't going to get to, I started out with the goal of 20K every month, then 30K every month, then 50K every month. And I was looking at my sheet every morning, just thinking, why are you reading this goal to yourself in the morning and at night if you're not going to get there? And so I just realized I couldn't do it all on my own, and that was the decision to bring on help.
Awesome. Guys, here is a question here that I've seen now a bunch of times, and I think it'll help because it is about negotiation. So I think it'll be right on target. Mark says, best strategy to use when getting a property under contract while tenant occupied. Guys, I don't want you to overthink this at all. There are buyers out there that are just fine with buying a home that's tenant occupied. And so best strategy is when you get. So you're saying you've got it under contract. What's the best strategy? Best strategy is this: know the operating or the lease agreement that comes with it, because the end buyer still has to maintain that lease agreement. So know everything there is about that rent. Is it month to month and all they need to do is get a 30-day vacate? Or is there still 8 months left on this lease, on this rental agreement? Because if there is, your end buyer needs to know this, because he's going to have to perform the underlying agreement that already exists between the seller and the tenant that's occupying the home. So don't overthink it, though. I have plenty of cash buyers that even if there's 8 months left on the rental agreement, that will say, I'll take it. It's cash flowing right now for a couple $100, but it allows me to keep doing my fix and flips that I already have on the docket. And in about 8 months, that's when I need a new deal to start fixing and flipping anyways. And so you guys, don't let that shock you, stop you, or surprise you. Plenty of people are out there saying, I'm totally fine if it's occupied by a tenant. Jerry, you want to throw anything on that?
Yeah, so I think the bigger question is that we have to ask ourselves with every single deal is, if I source and contract this deal and I take it to a cash buyer, what information are they going to need to make a decision? So think about it. If you were going to buy that property, what would you want to know? Well, you'd want to know, are they performing on their lease agreement? How long is their lease? When does the lease end? What are my rights when there's new ownership? Because states vary on what happens to tenancy when ownership changes. So for example, if the property's sold and there's new ownership, is there a 90-day notice to vacate rule in that state or whatever it is? Typically, though, the lease supersedes a transaction, like Cody said. So in other words, if that lease has 3 more months and your cash buyer buys it, they're going to have to honor the rest of that lease agreement until the 3 months is up before they could, ask the tenant to vacate. But is it non-performing? Is the tenant not paying rent and there's an eviction that needs done? If there's problems, the way I look at it this way is, if it's performing, great. Like Cody said, you can find a buyer that's going to take on that tenant and be fine with that. Probably a buy and hold investor would love that because that's what they would do. Maybe like Cody said, a fix and flipper will wait it out and then flip it after that. But if there's problems, like, you know, the tenant's not paying, there's an eviction that's needed, I leverage that situation with my seller and I say, look, there's problems here. I'm going to have to take on these problems. I'm going to have to deal with this tenant and maybe an eviction. Maybe they damaged the property on their way out, or I got to clean their stuff up. As such, I need a better deal. And so you can get some amazing deals when there's problems. And that's a great example of how there could potentially be problems. Like if there's a tenant that's not paying and you got to evict them, which again, remember, you're a wholesaler if we're talking wholesaling. So your cash buyer is going to inherit that problem. You need to be aware of it. You need to figure out all the answers to those questions so that you make the decision easy for your cash buyer. Nothing's worse than taking something to a cash buyer that's got all this due diligence that needs figured out. And then you say to the cash buyer, well, you know, here's this deal, but good luck trying to figure out all the stuff before you can make a decision if you want to buy it. You know, that's your job. Solve those problems and you'll wholesale more deals and make more money.
That's right. Anything you want to add to that, Hunter?
Just if it's a non-performing tenant or lease, or it's a problem tenant and they're not going to let you in the house, you know, for an inspection or to take photos or anything like that, then the price has to be right.
Yeah.
You know, like Gary said, you're going to use that. You're going to use that to your advantage with the seller, and it's, I mean, not even to your advantage. It's just that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Is you're going to have to discount the property because that's going to hinder my ability to do what I need to do on my disposition. So, you know, just price has to be right in that situation.
Yeah, I had a deal, Hunter, where this tired landlord brought 5 rentals to me, rental properties, wanted to sell. All 5 of them had tenants that weren't paying rent. And so I said to the seller, I said, look, here's my price if you handle it all and you give me vacant properties. Here's my price if we close in 2 weeks and I take on all the hassle of getting rid of those tenants. You know, and which one do you want? You know, and they were like, oh man, I'll take the bigger discount and not have to deal with any of this. Okay. You know, there's the price for that. And so that's all. It's just like anything, what's going on, figure it out, solve those problems, and, you know, price it accordingly.
And that's just the fundamental of negotiating, is find the pain, the motivation, and really, you know, dig in on that. So that's what you did, and that's why you're able to get that at, you know, a totally different price than if they were vacant properties.
Fantastic. Here's a good one, Nicole. What different task is the acquisition manager doing? This is phenomenal, because if all you're saying is your acquisition manager is just going on appointments and putting under contract, you might be missing the boat on this one. So the big 3 KPIs, or the big 3 goals, or we call it rocks, for the big 3 things that we want them to do is we want them to either, we answer live, so we don't go to voicemail. We used to, but now we found out that it's just, you have so many people calling in, and there's nothing worse than trying to call someone 20 times for them to end up telling you, take me off the list, or I was just calling you to tell you guys are dirtbags or whatever, right? And it's like, we just spent 30 minutes to find this out. How could we have done that differently? Well, we answer live. Everything we do is we answer live so we can get to the point really quick. You want to be removed? Great, right? But that's the big thing is all new leads coming in, acquisition managers. The next one is they have to do all their follow-up, but follow-up as you scale looks different. Right now, if you only have one acquisition manager, there could be a lot of follow-up, but your quality of follow-up as you start to grow your team and get more acquisition managers is, we found our sweet spot is no more than 20 to 30 leads per acquisition manager at any given time. And they only focus their efforts, their attention on the hot leads, period, the end. Anything that's warm is done by a different team member. Anyone that's cold is done by a different team member. So envision like 3 ponds. You got the hot bucket, you got the warm bucket, which is a little bit more, and then you got this cold bucket that's massive. The cold bucket is managed by our cold callers. They're just sifted right through the list, and they just call and call and call until it gets warm. And then they kick it to the warm bucket. And then the warm people work it until it gets to the hot stage. And then our acquisition managers take over that. So it is taking care of all new leads coming in, all your follow-up, and then making sure that I'm trying to think of the third one I have. The third one is follow up, new leads, and no red tasks. So, self-gen. That was the second one. So self-gen. So self-gen time. They spend 2 hours a day self-generating deals, self-generating leads. So those are the three main tasks that we look at. Jerry, you want to throw anything down on that?
Yeah, that's awesome, Cody. I mean, guys, what a nugget right there. Just that alone on how to manage your cold, warm, and hot leads. I mean, the biggest thing, I think, if you're listening right now, and that sounds overwhelming because it does for some of you that haven't even started with a team, is the first thing that you're really going to need to start working on is utilizing virtual assistants, because once you turn on your marketing, you're going to start to generate all these leads, and you cannot have American-based people. You can't have your acquisitions people managing all of those leads, because so many of them are cold. They don't go anywhere. They're not even real. And so that's step one. You've got to start tapping into the virtual assistant type of help. And we use them all through the process. So, what we found, for example, this is just one example, our PPC leads, we used to have this idea that, if somebody filled out a form online that they want to sell their house, that should be a very hot lead, right? I mean, they're inbounding us, right? They're saying, hey, I want to sell my house and I want to talk to somebody about this. But we've still found that a lot of those leads are just, they're cold, they're tire kickers or whatever's going on. And so we still have those funnel through first. Our cold calls, they're not cold callers now, but our VA team, they sift through, they go through they have a script, right? And then they'll kick those over to the warm or sometimes hot buckets, just like Cody explained. But that's just part of this process. Once you start getting on the phones, you start buying data, or you start doing direct mail on any type of level, once you start scaling, I just can't see how you can start to really do this business at any kind of bigger level if you're not starting to utilize that overseas virtual assistant help. So I just kind of wanted to add that in there to this conversation.
Fantastic. Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I touched on earlier, the biggest task that my acquisition manager is doing is actually going out to appointments and meeting with sellers and building rapport and spending his time face to face with sellers. But Cody, you said it as well. Outside of that main focus of contracting properties for us, he's taking warm leads from our cold call team, or he's responding immediately to web forms from our PPC. He's sending out some SMS text messages as well as a supplement to the cold call. And he's following up. If he's not out on an appointment or on the phone with the seller, then he needs to be in our Podio system looking at who is going to sign a contract today, and he's calling those people on a daily basis.
Yeah, fantastic. Here is one that I think is worth talking about. How do you advertise the properties to cash buyers without a real estate license? To market a property, I thought you need to be a real estate or have a real estate license. Yes, guys, Jerry actually talked about this in depth a couple weeks ago, how his view and opinion on this is that we're all going to get to the point where we might have to all get a license. But for those that are not licensed agents and you actually reside in a state where you don't have to be a licensed agent, Hunter does reside in one that you don't. In Utah, you do not. Arizona, do you? I don't think you do, right? So you can just simply assign. So the good question that you're asking, I love that you're asking this, and that's this. You're not marketing the property. You're marketing the contract that allows people to buy the property. So when you put a home under contract, you put it under an assignable agreement, meaning you can sell the piece of paper to someone else for a fee, and that paper then allows someone else to close on that property at 123 Main Street. So we're never saying, hey guys, there's a home for sale at 123 Main Street. We literally say, hey, I've got a contract that allows you to purchase the home at 123 Main Street, and we sell the paper, we sell the contract. So great question. And that is something that I highly recommend you talk to a real estate attorney, talk to someone so that you feel comfortable about what your laws are, what your bylaws are, whether you need a license or don't need a license, because you very well could reside in a state that you actually do need a license. And some of these states are changing quick. You've got Illinois, right? I think it's 3 transactions, and from there forward, is it 1?
One transaction.
One transaction, and that's it. That's all you get. You have to be a realtor if you want to do any more than 1 transaction a year. Michigan, I think, is 3. I think maybe that's where it came from. So there's states that are mandatory. You have to be a licensed realtor. So just verify, do you have to or not? And then start making the best choice from there after you get the blessing from a real estate attorney.
Yeah, and just to add to that, so in the past year and a half, I think it's been about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, where Illinois came out with their big law, really cracking down hard on wholesaling. You get to do 1 transaction. You cannot even market a property. That violates the licensing law that they have in place. So it's not like, oh, I did a transaction, I made money, I violated the law, now I pay a fine. It's, if you send an email, you could be violating the law, and in Illinois, it's a $25,000 fine, so huge fine. So Illinois is a state you need to be really aware of. Oklahoma, in the past year, they passed a law about marketing contracts. So now they're requiring some additional regulation and licensing to market a contract. Philadelphia just came out with some new laws now, and that's not a state thing. That's just the city of Philadelphia, where they're requiring a license. You got to get a license to wholesale property. So we're starting to see this regulation come out. And I think my personal belief is that we're going to see more and more of this happening in the near future. So you may decide to get a jump on it and just go ahead and get your real estate license, because it's not mandatory everywhere, but it does seem to be the trend now, where because wholesaling is now kind of a mainstream thing, it's an industry in and of itself. It never used to be. It used to be kind of an underground thing. Now it's an industry. So I think it's just going to become more and more normal to see this regulation come out. So just keep that in mind. If you guys want to check out some videos I've done, aside from being mandated or regulated to have a license, there are other benefits by having a license, that you can think about, like setting up your own appointments on showings, having the MLS, public record. So there's other things too that may be beneficial for you to have a real estate license, not to be an agent. A big one is getting referral fees. If you're licensed, you can get referral fees from other agents. We do this quite a bit, where if we can't buy a property at our price and they want more than we can pay, a lot of times we'll then go for a kind of like a last ditch effort, which is, hey, let us list your property for sale, then see if we can get you a higher price. You don't have to do that yourself. You can refer that to a licensed agent and get a split on the commission by doing that referral. So anyway,
otherwise you cannot, guys, just so you know, you cannot receive commission from a realtor if you are not a licensed realtor.
You're not licensed. Yeah. So anyway, there are some cons to having your license. A lot of people will point out some of the downside to it. But again, I think if we have this conversation in 5 years, we're going to see a lot more regulation that mandates that you have your license. So we'll see.
Hunter, here's a good one for you. What happens when a contract is not sold within the timeline? Have you ever had to cancel a contract, Hunter?
I have. Yeah, it happens. I mean, we try not to contract properties that we don't feel confident in our ability to disposition, but sometimes it's not even the fact that we can't place it with an end buyer. It's, sometimes we can't clear title in time, or, there's different issues that could occur. But yeah, we always put earnest money deposit down with our title company, and we also pay an option fee to be able to get out of the contract. It clearly states, and it's called a TREC contract in Texas. It's just the state boilerplate contract. We pay an option fee to the seller and clearly explain to them what that means, and it's usually not a problem if we have to get out of a contract. It's something that occurs from time to time.
Yeah, guys, that happens to probably 10% or less of our homes that we put under contract. So it's not a big number, and every contract though is that way. So even in a normal transaction, as a retail buyer, you have a due diligence period, and you may find out the home doesn't work out. So as a retail buyer, you back out. So this is very normal verbiage. So the whole point is, don't feel like if you put something under contract that you have to move forward. That's why we put a due diligence period in there, much like a normal transaction.
So if I can add to that, Cody, so there's a really simple way to solve this problem from ever happening to you. And that is what Cody just said. add a due diligence clause in your contract. Now, my personal belief is if I have a contract and I shop my contract, if I can't find a buyer for my deal in 10 days, I don't have a deal. You know, like I don't have a deal. If I can't get a buyer in 10 days, I don't have a deal. So I typically will add a 10-day due diligence clause. That gives you plenty of time to shop your deal, get feedback. And then let's say you get feedback about negative things about the property that you didn't anticipate. You can now go back to that seller and say, hey, during our due diligence, this and this and this came to our attention. As such, we can no longer pay that price, but we can still move forward with this deal, but we need to amend the contract and lower the price to this price. And if the seller's willing, then you just drop the price. You then move your deal because now you've talked to cash buyers. So this is something a lot of people worry about. I get this question all the time. Well, what happens if I can't find a buyer? You know, there's this fear that if I sign this contract, somehow I'm like bound to buy this property, or I'm going to like something really bad's going to happen. Like I'm going to go to jail or something. No, nothing bad is going to happen, right? Just know that nothing bad is going to happen. No one is going to force you to buy a house. None of that's going to happen. Just think about some protection. Think about a due diligence clause. And I never go back on a seller and say, hey, you know what? I just want a lower price just because I want a lower price. I never do that. That's not very considerate. That's not treating sellers with respect. But if I get new information that I wasn't aware about, like a foundation issue or whatever, and I didn't know about that, it wasn't disclosed to me. We find out when a cash buyer, you know, looks at the deal and gives us that feedback. Then by all means, go back to your seller and say, hey, here's where I'm at, you know, and here's why. You know, I want to move forward, but because of these things, that price doesn't work. And I'm letting you know as soon as I can. And I've got a bid here. Or I want to give that seller a really good reason if and when I have to come down on the price.
Perfect. What if we did one question and then did like a tip for everyone on your biggest, best strategy to scale so that people can look at scaling their business in 2021? How does that sound for you guys? Does that sound like we're hitting about the right time?
Yeah.
Okay, here's our question. Do you guys wholesale mobile homes?
Oh, yeah.
There is a strategy to this, guys. And yes, I will wholesale anyone. If someone brings me their dog, I'll try to wholesale their dog. So, guys, you can wholesale anything. But mobile homes, the trick behind mobile homes is you need to know the underlying, just the underlying laws, regulations, everything. Is the land that their mobile home is sitting on, do they own the land? Or is it rented from a mobile park? Does sewer come with it? Does water come with it? Does electrical come with it? Is there a lease in place that after X amount of years, they have to take the mobile home off of it because they want to bring in new people? You have to look at it that way. Now, the other thing is when you're dealing with mobile homes is mobile homes depreciate, not appreciate. So a lot of times you'll go out there and someone says, hey, last year I paid for my mobile home $50,000. And so I want to have $50,000 and I'll let it go. I'll sell it to you guys. And in your mind, you're thinking, oh my gosh, they're willing to sell it for the same price they bought it a couple years ago. Well, guys, newsflash on mobile homes. They're basically, I don't want to say it because a lot of people hate this, but I hate saying the word trailer because they're not. They're mobile homes. But guys, they're kind of like trailers. They just appreciate. They don't appreciate. So when wholesaling mobile homes, you got to get them at a deep discount because those are assets that, well, I shouldn't say assets. Those are liabilities that just continue to depreciate over the years. Anything you want to add to that, boys?
Yeah. So it's because it's on a chassis. It's not fixed to the real estate, right? So it's on a title. It's not a deed. It's a title. You can pick it up and move it. So it is like a car or like a trailer. In reality, it is. So because that's how you handle a mobile home. But bigger thing here is wholesaling mobile homes is like wholesaling condos or townhouses or vacant lots or, you know, any kind of specialty real estate. You can wholesale it. You just have to learn the ins and outs of your mobile home buyers. And if you want a niche with mobile homes, you can. I have a cash buyer here in Phoenix, and we just wholesaled him a house. And I was talking to him, and I said, well, what's your next deal? What can I help you get? And he said, well, I mostly do mobile homes. And I'm like, really? Okay, great. Well, tell me about that. And so I got this mobile home cash buyer, and I'm going to find him mobile homes and bring those deals to him, which means I better be able to talk to him in the mobile home language, which means I need to understand enough about mobile homes to when I bring it to a cash buyer, I can answer their questions. I know what they're going to ask me about mobile homes. And you don't have to become some kind of like master expert in them, just enough to understand how to niche with mobile homes and where to find those types of buyers. But there are mobile home cash buyers, just like there are single family cash buyers, just like there are, commercial cash buyers, just like anything. So yeah, they're a great opportunity. If you have mobile homes in your market, there could be an amazing opportunity with those for you to wholesale.
Hunter.
Yeah, we actually just did our first mobile home deal this month, last week. But one thing that wasn't said yet, maybe it's only specific to the state of Texas, I don't know. But we had the hardest time getting it to clear title, and it was because maybe it's something my title company should have known. But I did not clearly explain to them when I turned the contract into them that this was a mobile home. It wasn't a regular home. So the way that Texas handles it, it's not considered real property like a house would be. So it's a totally separate process of finding out, back taxes and whatever the title company is in charge of doing, all that kind of stuff of clearing. So once I finally told them that, no, this is a mobile home, they engaged the process for mobile homes that was different than houses. So we ended up having to delay closing actually a couple of times, because not only did we have Christmas come up, it was COVID and just all this stuff. So that problem could have been avoided had I understood that going into it, mobile homes are just treated.
Jerry, aren't they done like basically like DMV? Isn't it go through the DMV? It goes through the DMV. It doesn't even go through like a normal transaction process.
Yeah, it's
they have the VIN number.
Now you have to be careful because everywhere's a little bit different. But if you permanently attach the mobile home onto the real estate, onto the dirt, it now can be deeded and treated like regular real estate. But that's not how mobile homes typically are. They're on a chassis where you can lift them up and move them around. So it's literally like a trailer that has a title, or like a car, or like a boat.
Like a VIN number.
So it's different, right? It's just different real estate. One of the things you got to think about is this is a big thing people overlook, is a lot of mobile homes, it costs about $5,000 to $6,000 if you're going to move a mobile home from one park to another park. And so mobile home flippers, sometimes they want to do that. They want to move them around, and you better build that into your number, because your cash buyer is going to be thinking about that number if that's what they want to do. If they want to move it to maybe a better location or whatever, that's just one of those costs like you would rehabbing a house where you got to factor on, a new roof or something. So it's just the ins and outs of mobile homes. But I'll tell you what, do a mobile home deal and talk to some mobile home cash buyers, and you'll learn real quickly, like you, Hunter, go through a closing with one, and now your next one, you're going to know so much more about how to handle it.
Fail your way forward, guys. Yeah. That's the biggest secret in life, is take imperfect action. Don't let a new deal stop you saying, well, I've never done this before, so I better back away from it. Go through the process. When you hit a roadblock, that's when you start to look at what do you need to do next. You can't prepare enough for every deal. It's just those that prepare too much never do a deal, because they just keep trying to prepare themselves. But what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And they get stuck at YouTube University. They get stuck at just getting information. And I will tell you guys, the biggest secret to gaining success in wholesaling and actually doing deal as quick as possible is go out there and fail your way forward. Don't have the mentality that you got to do it perfect, because a perfect plan does not exist. It will never exist. But what does exist is getting a little bit of information and going out there and failing your way forward and taking massive imperfect action and letting those mistakes lead and guide you to become someone better. But you'll realize, like Hunter did, he didn't know anything about it, but he got to the point where what he didn't know, and he had to do some research. Oh, we did it wrong. We got to do it this way. And then he got to that point and says, oh, now there's COVID. Now there's Christmas. And now we got to delay this again. But guess what? Did that deal close, Hunter? Yeah. Okay, so that deal closed.
Yeah.
He had to learn through it, though. He had to fail his way forward through it. He didn't know the process. He simply just acted imperfectly and got through it. So great questions, guys, tonight. Do we want to go for a gold nugget tip of what has been your best strategy for scaling over this last year? Who wants to start us off?
Go for it, Hunter.
Yeah, it's fresh on my mind. So, I mean, I kind of gave it away earlier, so I'll give another one. But the first gold nugget for scaling is realize that when you're hiring on help, you're 2xing or 3xing the potential of your business. It's you're adding fuel to that fire. So don't look at it as something that's going to weigh you down, as having to lead a team and pay somebody. It's going to just ignite it, and you're going to be able to do twice as much as you were doing before. The other thing, I'm just now learning, getting past the stage of trying to figure the business out and getting it consistently and marketing and what works and what doesn't and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm trying to work on scaling as far as putting processes in place, training, operating manuals, consistent meeting schedules, goals, core values, trying to actually build a business now. And so 2021 is going to be all about systematizing and processing and consistent meetings and hiring.
Jerry, you or me?
I'll go. So, I love this idea when it comes to scaling your business, where you have to get yourself out of the lower level task. You have to get yourself up into the strategic role where you're spending less and less time doing the day-to-day activities and more time doing what Hunter said, which is, what are my standard operating procedures? What are our processes? What is the way that we want to take steps A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3? And freeing yourself up from that grind is the only way where you can really sit back and look at your business. And it's this idea, right, of working on your business, not in your business. And you just cannot do it until you take that big leap of faith and you start to outsource the things that you're doing right now. And until you get to a point where you can start to say, I should not be doing this. I need to develop people that can do this thing or that thing and free up my time so that I can lead and manage and grow this business, put my energy into the big picture here, the direction we're going, until you can make that big leap of faith, because it is a leap of faith. It's scary doing that. It's really easy to be a solopreneur. It's comfortable. You can just grind away, maybe have a really good paying job, right? Wholesaling, but there's no way to really get to that freedom level where the money keeps coming in and you don't have to be there every minute of the day. The only way that happens is you just have to start taking those transitions, those little steps. So my advice would be, make a plan, sit down right now and evaluate what you're doing and ask yourself, should I be doing this? How can I start to implement? I think the fastest way is virtual assistants that can come in. How do I start training them to take on some of these things I'm doing so that I can free me up to then be the leader and grow a real business, not stay in this one person operation.
That's right. Okay, guys, here's my final thoughts on this. There's 2 scary places to be in life, and I want you to guys consider it and don't look at it as anything negative, but there's two scary places, tax purpose wise and just growth wise and becoming your best potential. And that is employed and self-employed. Those are the 2 scariest positions that you can ever be stuck in. Employment, meaning you're always going to have to, you're not building your own goals. Someone's using you to accomplish their goals, right? And there's a cap, there's a ceiling at some point where you can't go any further. So there's that limitation. Life should not have limits, right? Your growth should never have limits. And so that's one scary place. But even scarier than that, guys, is self-employment. I think so many times we get into the point of, oh my gosh, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business, and you wear all the hats and you're self-employed. Guys, self-employment is actually scarier than employment. It ends up being, I tell people, entrepreneurship, it's crazy, right? You leave a job that you work for someone for 40 hours a week, and entrepreneurship is you do 100 hours a week working for yourself, meaning you work double time when you're self-employed. And so that time, that freedom that you were hoping for,
actually ends up disappearing. Yes, you might get higher paid. Yes, you might make more money. But at the end of the day, it turns in more to a job. It's just a higher paying job because you've lost all your other freedoms. So those are two things to consider. Scary positions to be in, employment and self-employed. And the true freedom comes when you become a business owner. A business owner is, whether you're there or not, it's still making you money, right? It's still serving you versus you always having to serve it. And I always tell people the best thing to do if you want to get into growing your business is process before people. Don't bring on the people too early. If there's not a process in place, the people won't be able to know what to do, and you won't be able to grow quick and do it the way you need to do it. Think of McDonald's. If someone walks out today and says, I'm done, I'm not flipping any more hamburgers, this place is awful, guess what? They don't care, because there's 100 applicants in line that they can just plug into the process. They don't have to retrain them. The manager doesn't come in and say, hey guys, here's how you flip a burger, and I'm going to flip this with you for the first 6 months. No, it says, go watch this video in this little room. It's going to teach you the whole process for your job. And then tomorrow you start doing that. It's a process. Have a process. And if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. If it's in here, that doesn't work. That doesn't help. That process has got to be videos. Start making videos of your whole process. Start looking at, okay, what is it I need to do? Or what is it I'm doing today? Video process that. I'm pulling a list. Great. Start recording how you pull a list. Or today I'm going to an appointment. What is your checklist if you put a home under contract? Video record that. Guys, before you leave any appointment, make sure that you get this, the authorization to get the mortgage payoff. Like, you start thinking all this. Get videos, get pictures. Make videos of this and build up your own like process, your own system, so that when you bring on people, they will be able to implement that at a quicker speed. They'll be able to win for you at a quicker speed because you have a process that exists. It's not up here, but that you can still do what you want, but you have them over here for a whole day watching videos because you can still keep doing that. What gets hard and why people get scared bringing on people is because they're now saying, oh man, I got to babysit for the next 6 months. And what if they leave? And what if they don't do anything? Well, it's because you don't have a process. Build the process first, then bring on the people. And that will help you do this in a much quicker way and in a much graceful way so that you can actually make this work for you. Any closing remarks on how to end this, Jerry?
No, I think, I think just, guys, if you're watching this and you haven't done your first deal yet, then let's focus on what you got to do to get that first deal. Once you get that first deal, though, don't stay in that same place that you did to get the first deal. It's usually not the same thing you need to do to get your second deal or your 10th deal. And if you guys are feeling right now, a lot of frustration, like, man, I've been working so hard, it's just not happening fast enough. I felt that way when I started. Remember the law of momentum, which is everything is always harder in the beginning, but then as you start to develop, as you start to put your processes in place, as you start to build your team, things are going to happen faster and you're going to start to snowball. And then that 10th deal is going to be 10 times faster and easier than your first deal. And your 100th deal is going to be, 100 times faster than your 10th deal. And you'll just continue to grow and develop. So don't let that be a deterrent. Don't think right now it's not going to work. It's too slow. It's too hard. That's part of that process of just getting launched, right? Getting off the ground with this business. So just trust the process, take action. And then as you start to do a deal, reinvest, start developing people and processes. I love what Cody said, processes before people. Get that process down, start to bring on the people you need to grow and the tools. And before you know it, you'll be transitioning from, 1 deal a month to 3 deals a month to 5 deals a month. And you'll be hitting those financial goals. And that's just so exciting to think that in not very long of a time. I mean, look at Hunter in middle of 2017. Here he is now at about 3 to 5 deals a month level. That's some serious, that's way better than any job, Hunter, no offense, Hunter, but that's way better than any job you'll ever land. So it's pretty exciting to think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I would just add to that quickly is if you're somebody that you're looking at other people's businesses and looking at what they're doing, and they're doing 10 deals a month or whatever it is, I just always had to remind myself that comparison is the thief of joy. So let it inspire you, but don't like get, I used to get down on myself if deals, 1 month and then 0 the next month and then one the month after that. Just stay with it, continuously make forward motion and let other people that are doing better than you inspire you, not,
Love that.
not the other way
I've
around.
always been told by someone, I can't remember who the mentor was that told me this, but comparison only cages yourself. So don't cage yourself, guys. Where you're at is not, your beginning is not someone's middle. Don't compare your beginning to someone's middle or your middle to someone's end. Just go out there and do and be you and keep growing. But guys, I want to thank each one of you for being here. God bless you guys in your journey. We're going to keep doing this. This is something fun. Jerry is hopefully not going to get held up in a wedding ceremony next time. I'm grateful for him for joining. Guys, this wasn't easy for him to join. Obviously, he's been driving for a long time, but also bless his wife that's been driving this whole time while he's been doing this. You guys, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have got a lot of value out of this. The whole point behind this is not to compare, but to give you step-by-step little instruction that you can go out and implement. The value of this live is not to just come in here and feel the warm and fuzzies. That's great, that's grand, but warm and fuzzies die off quick. You've got to now implement. So what was the one gold nugget? What is the one thing that you heard tonight that you're like, that's it. That's what I must do, and go work on that. Don't work on 3 things, 4 things, 5 things. What was the thing that resonated with you, that spoke to you? Go do it. Go do it imperfectly. Don't build a perfect plan around it, and get out there. Get out of your own way. Wholesaling's easy. It's the wholesaler that is difficult. Don't be difficult. Just go out there and do the process. Jerry, final thoughts, and let's close out.
Yeah, guys, leave a comment and say, Hunter Jarvis, you are a flipping genius. And but honestly, Hunter, thank you for taking the time and being on here and for being an inspiration. I hope you guys listening can look at Hunter and say, man, look where he's gone in such a short period of time. I can do this too. And you can, guys, you can do this. And it's exciting to see you guys that are learning and implementing and taking action. And so it's a joy to be here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, Cody. And let's do this again next week.
Okay, guys. Take care. Hunter, thank you so much. See you next week, bro.
Thanks.
Take care, guys. See ya.